morning, 5th grade. First off, thank you for retaking your science quiz. Sorry, I forgot to put a name section, but I appreciate it. Y'all really did a good job. All right, before we get started on today's lesson, we're going to play a little game. I have a bean bag, and I'm going to take that bean bag, and I'm going to toss it to the next person that I see, and you keep tossing it, and tossing it, and tossing it. We're going to see how long it takes us to get it back to me. All right, you ready? Set, go. Daniel, catch it. All right, pass to David. David, throw it. All right, Matthew, throw it to Artes. Artes, throw it back to, yep, Ava. All right, Jocelyn. Now the other Jocelyn. Gunnar, don't drop it. Pick it up. All right, send it to, who are you sending it to? Oh, Sean. Okay, Sean, send it to Emily. Emily, keep going, keep going, keep going. Don't drop it. All right, good, I got it. Thank you. That was fun, wasn't it? That beanbag represents 1 drop of blood. Now, let me ask you a question. What do you think the network of people that we used represents? When I passed it to Daniel, Daniel passed it to David, all around until it got back to me. What do you think that represents? That's right. That's all the blood vessels in our body. Okay, now let's think of this. We have 1 drop of blood, and it starts in our heart, and it leaves our heart, and it goes around to every part of our body, and then back to the lungs, and then back to the heart. How much time do you think that it takes for that 1 drop of blood to return back to the heart? What do you think? 30 seconds? No. A minute? No. 10 seconds? No. It actually takes 45 seconds for your blood to exit your heart, go through all parts of your body, and then return back to your heart. Here's a fun fact. The average adult, their heart beats about 100,000 times in a day. Isn't that crazy? So a couple of things that we're going to learn today. The vocab that we're going to talk about, we're going to be talking about veins, we're going to be talking about arteries, and we're going to be talking about capillaries and what each of those 3 things do. Okay, again, veins, arteries, and capillaries. Now, some of the pictures I'm going to show you today are actual blood vessels in someone's body. What's really cool is there's this science exhibit that travels around the nation, and it's literally called The Body. And people have donated their body to science, and different parts of their body are used to put on display. They preserve it, kind of like they would a mummy, so that it can be on display for people to see. You may think of it as a little gross, but actually it's really cool to see how our body works. So like one of the things that they will show is they will remove all the different blood vessels from all over your body, and then put them back in the shape of that body and put it on display. Or they'll take just the muscles or just the bones or just the different organs and put them so that you can see it. It's super cool. So some of the pictures in today's slideshow will show those, but they're super cool. They're not really bloody like the heart that I showed you last week. So follow along with me. All right, so here's our first picture. So our blood vessels are what we would call the pipes that carry blood throughout our body, and there are actually billions of them inside of our body. Let's just look at this picture right here of a person. You can see their nose, their lips. You can actually see you remember when we took our pulse? You can see the vein right here that we would have felt our pulse in. But all of these are blood vessels that you would find inside your body, and you can see where some are like, there's more than other places. Your head and your face actually has a lot of blood vessels in them. That's why, like, usually if you someone gets cut in their head or their lip or their face, they usually bleed a lot, not because it's a bad injury, but because there are tons of blood vessels there. So let's think of that again. There's billions of them. If we were to take all of these blood vessels and lay them out end to end, they would actually be long enough to wrap around the world at least 2.5 times. That's just one person, okay? Think about this. If I was to open up this person and just take all these different blood vessels, some of them are as thin as the hair on your head, they would actually wrap around the world 2.5 times, which is absolutely crazy. Remember when we talked about the U.S. roadmap at the beginning of this chapter, and we talked about how there's these main highways here, and off the main highways you have your exits that lead to smaller roads that lead to smaller roads, and ultimately you could probably find your way back to the main road using a different path. Well, we're going to be talking about how our blood vessels do pretty much the same thing. All right, so think back to that map. Now, here's another type of map that we could look at. And again, these are all the different blood vessels in someone's body. Remember that museum I was telling you about in that exhibit? These would be all the blood vessels again. And you can see where quite a few of them kind of gather. Your lungs are crazy. Look at this huge one right here. And then notice your fingertips too. Your fingers actually bleed a lot if you were to cut them. But again, look at the head and the face. How many blood vessels are there? So all your blood vessels are linked together. And this is kind of like the transportation system for your blood. And it's very, very effective. It only takes about a minute, 45 seconds to a minute, depending upon what activities you're doing for that blood to circulate again from your heart all the way through your body back to your lungs and then to re-enter back into your heart. We're going to be looking at a couple of different types of blood vessels. Blood vessels are classified by where they actually carry the blood. So the first type we're going to look at are called arteries. And arteries are typically shown in red color, usually because arteries carry blood that is oxygenated or blood that moves away from the heart to the body. And they want to take the blood to all parts of the body. Remember that all of our cells in our body and everything in our body is made up of cells, but all those cells need to have blood in order to live. So we have arteries everywhere. And then we have veins that carry the blood back to the heart. And the reason it does this is because we need to get oxygen back into it. So let's think of that one drop of blood that we talked about at the beginning of this lesson. That one drop of blood started off in the lungs and it picked up oxygen to carry to the blood, to all your cells in the body. And as it left the heart, it went to where it needed to go, dropped that blood off, and then that blood needed to go back to the lungs in order to deposit our waste product, which is, what do we breathe out again? Yes, carbon dioxide. And then it needs to pick up more oxygen to carry it away. So the veins will represent what we call deoxygenated blood, but it's actually just blood that returns back to the heart and through the lungs. When this occurs, it needs to get more oxygen. But I want you to look like right now on your wrists or your hands or your arms or your legs, and you'll see there's like blue veins in your arms, okay? So, can you all see that? Now there's a huge misconception that your blood is actually blue. It's not blue. It's just a really, really deep color, and it looks blue because of the way that light waves are hitting the skin, and how that light is absorbed, and what gets reflected back to us. Most of the colors get absorbed into your skin, but what gets reflected back to our eyes is the color blue. Okay, so again, arteries, they carry blood away from the heart to all parts of the body, and our veins will take that blood and carry it back to the heart. The last thing that we have are called capillaries, and these capillaries are small blood vessels that connect the arteries to the veins, and it's this part right here, okay? These things are super, super, super tiny, and you kind of you have to think of these as like a U-turn section. So if blood is coming from the artery, from the heart, and it's already delivered its oxygen, it needs to take a U-turn somewhere in order to get back into a vein to go back to the heart. So these capillaries are those U-turn spots, or a rotary, where we can go from one section to a different road to get back to where it needs to go. All right, guys, so here's your assignment for today. In the comment section on my webpage, on my Weebly, for today's date, I want you to comment something in there that was new to you, something that was interesting or something that was the first time you've heard that. Make sure you put your first and last name, and that'll count as your attendance and your participation grade today. I'll see you guys tomorrow.